Jason had never thought he would feel so out of place. The palace of Virelia was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering walls of crystal shimmered with soft colors that shifted as he walked past. The corridors twisted in ways that made him feel dizzy, as if the palace itself was alive. Every corner had statues of alien heroes, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet and sharp, like a mix of flowers and metal. He was supposed to meet the Council of Virelia to discuss the treaty between Earth and this alien world, but he had already taken a wrong turn, twice. His communicator buzzed, but the screen only confused him further with alien symbols and words. Frustration built inside him. "Why does everything here feel like a maze?" he muttered under his breath. His boots clicked against the crystal floor and his shadow stretched long behind him in the glowing corridors. He had to find the council chamber quickly. Earth's diplomats were counting on him, and he could not afford a mistake. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Jason noticed a door slightly open. It looked ordinary, almost forgotten. Without thinking, he pushed it. And immediately, he knew he had made a huge mistake. The room inside was nothing like the corridors outside. The walls curved gracefully and shimmered like liquid sapphire. Light floated in the air itself, soft and warm, making everything look gentle and alive. In the center of the room, sitting on a throne-like chair that seemed to hover slightly above the ground, was a young alien woman. Her skin glowed faintly in shades of pale violet, and her hair looked like liquid silver falling around her shoulders. Her eyes were wide, deep in a color he had no name for, somewhere between amethyst and moonlight. Jason froze in the doorway, his heart hammering in his chest. He had heard stories of royal Virelians being beautiful, powerful, and unapproachable, but seeing her here alone was completely different. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The princess simply stared at him, silent but alert, as if she had expected someone like him to enter. I'm so sorry," Jason finally managed, his voice shaking. "I didn't mean to—" He stopped. Every word felt clumsy and inadequate. How could he explain that he had wandered the wrong corridor? How could he apologize for stepping into the private room of an alien princess? She raised one delicate hand, her fingers tipped with faintly glowing nails. Her expression was unreadable, yet her eyes were not angry. "Why do you enter my room without knocking, human?" she asked softly, her voice melodic but firm. Jason felt it vibrate through him, almost like music. I got lost," he stammered. "I was looking for the council chamber. I didn't know." He trailed off, feeling more embarrassed with each passing second. The princess studied him for a long moment. Then she tilted her head slightly, a small gesture that made him feel even more exposed. Jason felt sweat prickling his forehead. He had trained for combat, for diplomacy, for tense negotiations, but nothing had prepared him for the weight of those violet eyes. And then his gaze wandered. Behind her, on the wall, was a large portrait. He blinked hard. It was him. His own face, his human features painted in delicate detail, staring out from the canvas. He stepped forward slowly, his mind trying to process it. My picture?" he whispered, voice trembling. He had never imagined anyone, even an alien, would paint him, let alone a princess. The princess's lips curved faintly. "I asked my artist to capture you," she said, her voice calm. "I wanted to remember you." Jason felt his chest tighten. I don't deserve this," he said quietly. He could not understand why a royal alien would honor him in such a way. He had only followed orders, done what any human soldier might have done. She stood slowly, walking closer. "You acted with courage when others would have run. You saved lives when you could have stayed safe. That makes you worthy, not your rank, not your title, but who you are." Jason felt something inside him shift. He had never thought of himself as special, never imagined that a human could mean something to the universe beyond Earth. Yet here was proof, hanging on the wall in an alien palace. For the first time, in weeks, he felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. Not pride exactly, but hope. Somehow, in this place so foreign and beautiful, He realized that even a human could leave a mark on worlds far beyond his own. And in that moment, Jason knew his mistake, walking into the princess's room, was no mistake at all. Jason stood frozen, staring at the portrait. His mind could barely process it. It was him. His human face, the lines of worry he carried, the quiet determination in his eyes, all captured perfectly on the canvas. He could see himself, but also something more. Strength, courage, a humanity that somehow mattered beyond Earth. I don't understand, he said quietly. Why would you want this? The princess walked slowly toward him, her silver hair gliding over her shoulders like liquid moonlight. Because you are different, she said softly. When your ships came to our world, you did not fight for conquest. You did not act out of fear or anger. You fought to protect, to save, to give life a chance. That is why I asked for this painting. I wanted to remember you, not just your face, but your spirit. Jason swallowed hard. He had trained for wars, for survival, for duty, but never had anyone seen him in this way. Not his commanding officers, not even his family. And now, here was an alien princess, in a world he barely understood, honoring him in a way he could not fully grasp. He walked closer to the painting, his eyes tracing the brushstrokes. It captured more than his face. It captured his heart. And suddenly, he realized how small he had always felt in the universe. How insignificant. Yet here, on an alien world, someone saw him. Someone believed he mattered. The princess watched him quietly, her eyes soft. You think of yourself as ordinary, human, she said, but your choices show otherwise. You remind us that courage is not about power or technology. It is about the heart. And yours? She paused, letting her words sink in. Yours is remarkable. Jason turned to look at her, finally meeting her gaze. He had no words. How could he explain that all his life he had felt invisible, replaceable, ordinary, and now an alien princess, the ruler of a world he barely understood, was telling him he was extraordinary. I just did my job, he said finally, his voice small, almost embarrassed. I was just trying to help. The princess shook her head slowly. No, she said, her voice firm but gentle. You acted because it was right. Because you chose to help. That is what makes humans remarkable. That is what makes you human in a way that matters to the universe. Jason felt a lump rise in his throat. He wanted to laugh, cry, and bow all at once. He had never been recognized like this, never felt seen, and now, here it was, hanging on a wall in a palace of crystal and light. His life, his choices, and his heart, all captured in paint, remembered. He looked again at the painting. There was no exaggeration, no embellishment, just him, standing, tall despite fear, standing human in a universe so much larger than he could imagine. He felt an emotion so strong it made his chest ache. Hope. Hope that humans could be remembered. Hope that courage mattered. Hope that he could leave a mark. The princess stepped closer, her hand hovering near the painting as if protecting it. I wanted you to see this, she said softly. Even if the universe forgets, I will not. Your actions, your courage, your heart, they are worth remembering. You are not just a visitor to my world, Jason. You are part of it now. Jason's eyes welled with tears, not of sadness, but of disbelief, of gratitude, of something he had never felt before, being truly seen. He had walked into this room by mistake, but now he realized it was fate. This room, this painting, this princess, they were telling him something he had always needed to hear. You really think that? He asked, voice trembling. I know it, she said, her violet eyes steady and warm. You remind us of what humans can be. Heroes without armor, leaders without titles, lights in the darkness. That is why your face hangs here." Jason took a deep breath, feeling a mix of awe and humility. For the first time, he understood something important. Being human was not about strength or strategy. It was about courage, heart, and choices. And somehow, in this alien palace, in a world far from Earth, that truth had found him. And in that moment, Jason realized the most extraordinary thing of all. He was no longer invisible. Jason could not take his eyes off the portrait. He had never imagined that someone, especially an alien princess, could see him, not just his face, but his soul. His hands trembled slightly as he tried to process everything. How could he, a simple human soldier, mean so much to someone from a world so different, so vast, and so magnificent? The princess remained quiet, standing nearby, her eyes observing him with a calm intensity. Then softly she spoke. "You think you are ordinary, that your courage is nothing special. But I have watched your actions. I have seen how you moved when the Varelian city was under attack. You did not run. You did not hesitate. You chose to protect, even when it was dangerous." Jason swallowed hard. I was just doing my duty," he said. His voice shook slightly. "I was only following orders. Any human would have done the same." The princess shook her head, her silver hair shimmering in the soft light. "No, not any human, only those with hearts like yours act like that. Most follow orders. Most think of themselves first. You think of others. That is what makes you remarkable." Jason looked down at the floor. He had never heard such words before. Back on Earth, people had praised his skills, his discipline, even his bravery, but never his heart. And the truth was, he had always believed that courage alone could not matter. That one human could not change the universe. "You see yourself too small," the princess continued, "but you are larger than you know. You are larger than many rulers, many warriors. You remind us that even the smallest among us can shine brighter than stars when we choose to act with honor." Jason felt a warmth spread through his chest. He wanted to protest, to say it wasn't true, but he knew she meant it. He had never felt so understood. Someone from a world so alien had looked beyond the surface and seen the real him, his flaws, his fears, and still his courage. The princess took a step closer. "There is something I must confess," she said softly, almost shyly. Jason blinked, surprised. He had expected the princess to be regal, distant, unapproachable, but not this intimate, this sincere. I have waited for someone like you," she admitted. "Someone who can show us that humanity has more than strength. Someone who can remind my people that even the smallest beings can make the biggest difference. And you, Jason, you are that someone." Jason felt his heart skip a beat. He had fought in battles, survived dangerous missions, and faced impossible odds. But nothing had prepared him for this, being seen, recognized, and appreciated for who he truly was. I don't know what to say," he whispered. "I'm just a human. I'm not special." The princess smiled faintly, a mix of sadness and admiration in her eyes. "Special is not about titles or power. It is about choices. And every choice you made, every risk you took to protect life, proves that you are more than ordinary. You are extraordinary." For the first time, Jason felt a lightness in his chest. The weight of doubt, fear, and insignificance that had followed him through his life seemed to lift. He realized that being human, in all its fragility and imperfection, could still leave an imprint on worlds far larger than himself. The princess reached out, gently placing her hand near his shoulder. "I wanted you to know this, so that you do not forget. Humanity matters, and you remind us why." Jason looked at her, his chest tight with emotion. He had never expected a moment like this in his life, let alone on an alien world. And yet here it was. A confession of truth, a recognition of his courage, and a promise that even small humans could change everything. I'll try to live up to that," he said softly, feeling a new determination rising within him. He had always been human, fragile and small. But now he understood that even a single human could make the universe a better place. And for the first time, Jason believed it. Not because anyone told him, but because someone had truly seen him and that truth had set him free. Days passed, and Jason found himself returning to the princess's room more often. At first it was under the pretext of diplomacy, discussions about trade, peace, and coordination between humans and Varelians. But soon those meetings became something else entirely. He discovered that being near her felt different, calmer, lighter. Somehow, the vast alien palace and its shifting crystal corridors seemed less overwhelming when she was there. The princess, for her part, welcomed his presence. She was graceful and regal, but she had a curiosity about humans that made her approachable. She asked him endless questions about Earth, its oceans, forests, and cities. She wanted to know about people, about choices, about courage, and Jason found himself answering honestly, not with diplomacy, but with stories of life, failure, and hope. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace gardens, Jason and the princess walked side by side. The air shimmered faintly, soft and warm, and flowers that glowed like lanterns filled the garden with gentle light. Jason looked at her and realized he had never felt so connected to anyone before. Not family, not friends, not even comrades in battle. Do humans ever realize how special they are? She asked quietly, her voice almost lost in the soft breeze. Jason hesitated. He had asked himself the same question many times. Some do, he said finally. But most are too busy surviving. Too busy worrying about what comes next. They forget to see what they are capable of. The princess nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. I have watched your people. I have seen humans fight, protect, and sacrifice. You remind me that courage is not about power or weapons. It is about the heart. And you show it more than anyone I have ever met. Jason's chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. No one had recognized the quiet choices he made, the risks he took, the small acts of courage he thought went unnoticed. And yet here was someone, an alien princess, seeing him fully, completely, and appreciating him not for what he had, but for who he was. They sat by a glowing fountain, its water sparkling like liquid light. The princess leaned slightly closer, and Jason felt a warmth in his chest he could not explain. You make humans seem larger than life, she said softly. Even in a universe full of immense power and alien wonders, you remind us that courage, kindness, and hope are not bound by size, species, or technology. You make humanity matter. Jason looked down at his hands. I never thought about it like that, he admitted. I've always thought of humans as small, weak, fragile, but you make me feel like maybe we can be something more. The princess smiled faintly, a small, almost shy expression that softened her regal features. You already are something more, she said, and I hope you see it, even if only for a moment. You remind us that hope can exist, even in darkness. Jason felt a strange mix of pride and humility. He realized that this connection, this bond with someone so different yet so understanding, was changing him. He was learning to see himself not just as a human soldier, but as a person capable of leaving a mark on the universe. For the first time in his life, Jason felt truly seen, not just for what he did, but for who he was. And as he looked at the princess sitting there bathed in the soft glow of the garden, he felt a quiet certainty rise within him. He would not let this moment, this connection, be wasted. He would honor it. He would protect it. And somehow he would live up to the recognition she had given him, because he realized something crucial. The universe could be vast, confusing, and even frightening. But when someone believed in you, when someone saw your heart, even the smallest human could feel infinite. And Jason knew in that quiet garden under twin moons that he had begun to understand the true power of humanity. The palace, once a place of wonder and calm, now buzzed with tension. Alarms echoed through the crystal corridors, and Varelian messengers rushed past Jason as he tried to make sense of the situation. Reports had come in. An enemy fleet from a rival empire was approaching Varelia. Their goal was clear: conquer, destroy, and enslave. Jason felt a chill run down his spine. He had faced danger before, but nothing like this. This was not a drill. This was not training. Real lives, thousands of people, including the princess, were in imminent danger. And despite the beauty of this alien world, despite the connection he had forged, duty called. The princess found him in the council room, her violet eyes shining with concern, but also determination. Jason, she said, her voice calm yet urgent, the enemy is near. We must prepare for war. Jason nodded, his jaw tightening. I'll do whatever I can, he said, though a knot of fear tightened in his stomach. He could fight, he could lead, but he could not stop imagining the worst. The thought of her in danger, the person who had shown him kindness, who had seen him for who he truly was, shook him to his core. She placed a hand on his arm, a small gesture of reassurance. "I do not ask for your protection," she said softly, "but I ask for courage. You have it, Jason, I have seen it." Jason met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words. Courage. He had never realized how much it meant. Not just to fight, but to fight for something greater than himself. For lives, for hope, for people who could not defend themselves, and now he knew he had to act. The city's defenders scrambled to their stations, humans and Varelians side by side, preparing for the oncoming fleet. Jason moved quickly, coordinating strategies, giving orders, and placing himself where danger was greatest. Every instinct, every lesson from Earth's battlefields became critical here. Yet his mind kept drifting back to the princess. He remembered the quiet moments in her room, the trust she had given him, the portrait of him that reminded him he mattered. The first wave of attackers hit the city with overwhelming force. Explosions rocked the streets and the sky was lit with the fire of alien weapons. Jason fought fiercely, dodging blasts, protecting civilians, and guiding soldiers to safety. Every step, every decision carried the weight of countless lives. Through it all, he could hear the princess's voice over the comms, calm and commanding. She inspired her people, giving orders, encouraging bravery, and refusing to let fear take control. Even in chaos, her presence was a beacon of hope. As the battle raged on, Jason realized something profound. It was not his weapons or his training that mattered most, it was choice. Every human and Varelian he led, every life he saved, every act of courage made a difference. His humanity, his heart, was the weapon no enemy could destroy. Later, when the first wave subsided, he found the princess on a balcony overlooking the city. Dust and smoke clung to her silver hair, but her eyes remained bright. "You did not falter," she said quietly, almost in awe. "Even when the enemy seemed unstoppable, you led with strength and honor. You have shown what humans can be." Jason shook his head, exhausted and covered in dust. "We did it together," he said. "I couldn't have done this alone." The princess smiled, her expression softening. "Perhaps. But it was your courage that reminded us all to fight, to hope, and to believe. You are more than a soldier, Jason. You are a symbol. You make humanity shine." Jason felt a strange pride, one that had nothing to do with medals or ranks. He had always thought humans were fragile, small, and ordinary. But here, on a distant alien world, in the heart of battle and fear, he realized something. Humanity's true strength was in its courage, in its heart, in its refusal to give up even when the odds were impossible. And as the enemy ships regrouped on the horizon, Jason knew that he would fight with everything he had, not just for survival, but for the people who believed in him, for the princess who saw his heart, and for the hope that humans could matter, even among the stars. The sky over Varelia burned with fire and smoke. The enemy fleet had returned, larger and more deadly than before. Explosions lit the horizon, shaking the city and rattling the crystal corridors of the palace. Jason's heart pounded as he ran along the streets, coordinating the defense with both human soldiers and Varelian warriors. Every second counted, every choice could mean life or death. The princess appeared beside him on the battlefield, her presence calm and commanding. She directed her people with precision, her voice carrying over the chaos. Jason realized that courage was contagious. Her calm inspired not only Varelians but humans as well. Even in the face of overwhelming odds, hope still had a place. "Jason," she shouted, pointing toward a group of civilians trapped under rubble. Without hesitation, he sprinted forward, dodging blasts of energy and falling debris. His heart raced, but he focused on one thing: saving them. Every human life mattered, every alien life mattered. And he could not fail. The city shook as the enemy pressed forward, relentless and merciless. Jason and his team fought with everything they had. Blasters roared, shields flashed, and humans and Varelians moved together like a single force. Each victory was hard-won. Each loss felt painfully personal. At one point, Jason found himself facing a squad of enemy soldiers alone. His weapons were nearly empty, his body aching. But he remembered the princess, the portrait, the faith she had put in him. With a deep breath, he fought with all his strength, not just to survive, but to protect the people who depended on him. Every move, every strike carried the weight of humanity itself. Hours passed and the battle raged on. Yet despite the chaos, Jason never faltered. The princess remained at his side, guiding, supporting, encouraging. He watched her, and in her eyes he saw admiration and trust. He realized he was not just fighting for survival, he was fighting for something greater. He was fighting to prove that humans could make a difference even in a galaxy far beyond their own. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the tide began to turn. The combined forces of humans and Varelians pressed forward, pushing the enemy back. Jason led a daring strike against the flagship, taking down the command ship and forcing the invaders to retreat. The sky, once filled with fire and smoke, slowly cleared. The city, though scarred and battered, had survived. When the dust settled, Jason found the princess standing on a high balcony overlooking the battlefield. Her silver hair was streaked with dust, her clothes torn, yet her posture was proud and strong. She looked at him with eyes full of emotion. "You did it," she said quietly, her voice trembling with awe and relief. "You saved my world." Jason shook his head, exhausted and covered in soot. "We did it together," he said, his voice hoarse. "I couldn't have done this alone." She stepped closer, placing her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Perhaps not alone," she admitted. "But your courage reminded everyone what hope looks like. Your heart showed us that humans are capable of more than we imagined. You are extraordinary, Jason." Jason felt a swell of pride he had never known. He had always believed humans were fragile, limited, and small. But here, standing on a battlefield on an alien world, he finally understood the truth. Humanity's strength was not in technology, nor numbers, nor weapons. It was in the heart, the courage to act, the choice to protect others even when it was dangerous, the ability to shine in darkness. The princess smiled faintly, her violet eyes reflecting the first soft light of dawn. "You remind us that even the smallest beings can change the universe. You remind us that hope is never lost." Jason, standing amidst the ruins of battle, finally allowed himself to feel it, the true weight of what they had achieved. He had not only survived, he had inspired, led, and saved lives. And for the first time, he believed in something larger than himself, that humanity could matter, even among the stars. And in that quiet, powerful moment, Jason realized he would never be the same again. The battle was over. Smoke still curled into the sky, and the streets of Varelia were scarred with the marks of war. But the city had survived. The people had survived. And somehow, against impossible odds, humanity had played a crucial part. Jason walked through the palace corridors, exhausted but unbroken. His armor was scratched, his clothes torn, and his body ached from hours of fighting. But his heart felt full. The events of the past days had changed him. He had seen courage in action, in humans and Varelians alike, and he had felt the weight of responsibility and the power of choice. The princess met him in her private chamber, the same room where he had first stumbled in by mistake. The crystal walls glowed softly, reflecting the calm after the storm. And there on the wall hung the portrait once again, him immortalized not as a soldier but as a symbol. She stepped closer, her violet eyes meeting his. "I wanted you to see this again," she said, her voice gentle but steady. "Even after all that happened, I want you to remember what you mean. Not just to me, but to all of us." Jason looked at the painting. The brushstrokes captured him perfectly, tired, determined, human. But this time he noticed something more. It wasn't just a picture. It was a reminder of courage, of hope, of humanity's ability to shine even in the darkest places. "You really think I deserve this?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. The princess shook her head. "I do not think I know. You showed us what humans can be. You showed us that even the smallest among us can leave a mark that lasts beyond fear, beyond war, beyond worlds. Your choices saved lives, inspired hope, and reminded us all that courage matters more than power. That is why your face belongs here." Jason's chest tightened. He had never felt so seen in his life, never so valued. His mind raced through memories of battle, of fear, of moments where he had doubted himself. And yet here was proof that those choices, those acts of humanity had mattered. They had changed the course of a world. The princess stepped closer, placing her hand over his. "You remind me and my people that hope is never lost. Humanity has a heart that can shine brighter than any weapon, any fleet, any empire. And you are the living proof." Jason swallowed hard, emotion rising in him. He had always thought humans were small, weak, and fragile. He had thought courage meant nothing without strength or numbers. But now, standing in a palace far from Earth, He understood. Humanity mattered because of heart, because of choice, because of the willingness to stand when others would fall. He looked at the princess, her silver hair catching the soft light, her violet eyes steady and full of trust. I'll never forget this, he said finally. Not you, not this world, not the people I fought to protect. I promise I'll do my best to live up to it. She smiled faintly, her expression both tender and proud. You have already lived up to it, Jason, and more. The universe will remember humans like you, not because of strength or technology, but because of heart. You are proof that humanity belongs among the stars. Jason felt a tear slip down his cheek, a mixture of relief, pride, and gratitude. He had entered this world by accident, walked into a room he was not meant to see, and yet that mistake had changed everything. He had been seen, remembered, and honored in a way he could never have imagined. For the first time, Jason allowed himself to feel truly proud. Proud to be human, proud that his choices, his courage, and his heart could make a difference. And in that quiet, glowing room, he realized something more. Humanity did not need to conquer planets or wield ultimate power to matter. It mattered because it dared to hope, to fight, to care. And in that moment, Jason knew the truth. Humans could shine among the stars, and he had just become one of the brightest lights.